Very good morning to all the participants who have joined today's session. Okay, and Varsha has already given an introduction about the organization as well as thank you all for joining on a Saturday morning. It is not a Sunday; it's basically a Saturday. Right, guys. This particular session we are going to discuss about data analysis using Python library called as Pandas. Okay. Without wasting much time, we'll just start off with the session. Let me just share the screen and then just give me a confirmation if it is visible or not. Fine. So first and foremost thing, I'd like to start off with what exactly do you mean by data analysis? Okay. Data analysis is basically a concept where you have a lot of data and you're trying to, extract information from the data. Like, for example, if you basically have a sales data, you'd like to observe that what products are being sold more, what products are being sold on a particular day, where there is a frequency. If there is a pattern out there, like on some particular day the sales happen more, and some particular days the sales happen less. So if we basically do this analysis, then what happens is, like, we can basically stock the right things at the right moment. We can also have the right kind of manpower at the right moment, depending upon the past patterns. We can also predict the future patterns and then stock this. So data analysis is a very important aspect, in everybody's life, right? Every kind of organization, like for example, Cranes as an organization, we basically try to do a lot of analysis with regards to even the understanding with respect to our admissions, what we basically happen, because we have from June, basically we have seasons where people just pass out engineering or their graduation and then join the course, and after that, we basically understand, what could be the overall analysis required, like infrastructure required, the trainers required, and everything. And then going further, like, when should we reach out to the placements? With regards to the placement activities, what is the period when the companies hire more? We do an analysis of those things and everything so that we can basically reach out to the companies at the right time, when there is like a requirement. Fine. Okay. Now, when we want to do a data analysis, first and foremost thing, we need to have a data. Without data, we cannot do the next step, which is data analysis, right? Data collection is a very important part. So, every organization, we basically tries to collect data, will be in a better position to analyze it and then, improve the services, right? Like whenever you go to a departmental store, they ask you the mobile numbers, and then so that they can get to know about the customer, and then they can basically sell products which are specific to that particular customer, right? So every customer's need might not be same. Every customer might not like the same kind of product. Some customers might like to purchase more of clothing. Some customers might like to purchase more of grocery, right? Some people might like to purchase more of electronics. So we need to basically promote things which are basically something which they basically like. So we can only do this provided we have data. So how can we basically collect data? So every transaction, you collect the information about the customer also, as well as what kind of thing, what they basically purchase. Over a period of time, we basically see the patterns, and then that will help us out to better, reach out to the specific customers for with a specific, orders, right? Or offers. Fine. So today we are going to learn about doing the analysis using one of the Python libraries, basically called as Pandas library, guys. We'll be learning about Pandas. Okay. We'll be learning how we can basically use Pandas to do a big data analysis. Okay. Right. Now, we require data. Okay, the data can be in any format. The data can be either the CSV files what you have collected, or it could be an Excel file, or it could be a data which is captured and stored in a database. Okay, anything. Now, for simplicity, it is in what I'll try to do it is, there is already a built-in data sets which are available, which we can basically use it. If you want, you can also utilize it. I'm basically using a tool called as Google Colab, which is an online compiler for data analysis, which is provided by Google. The only thing what is required is your Gmail to log in, and after that you don't need to bother about installation of any of the libraries. We can do Python, we can do data analysis using Pandas, like all the relevant libraries like NumPy, Pandas, plotting libraries like Seaborn, Matplotlib, right? Even machine learning and deep learning libraries like scikit-learn, TensorFlow. All these things are basically provided without installing anything onto your machine. You just require an internet browser, and then we can just open it to your Gmail account, and you can basically start coding into it, and everything gets stored in your Google Drive. all these documents will basically get stored in the Google Drive. Okay, that's the okay, right? So if you basically want to start and go along with me, you can just search for Google Colab. Just search for Google Colab, right? COLAB, right? So once you click on that, it will basically ask you for logging in, and you need Gmail ID, okay, to log in. You can use any of the browsers, either the Chrome or the Edge or anything else. But important thing is you require a Google, okay, ID, right? Okay. So once you get into out here, in case if you are doing it for the first time, you get a little bit different interface. Otherwise, okay, you get an interface something like this. So here you can just click on this new notebook. Once you click on this new notebook, you get an interface similar to this. You get an interface similar to this, guys. Okay, right. Now I'd like to basically take up some data which is already available. Now the data are basically available in a library called as 𝐕𝐚𝐫𝐬𝐢𝐭. So first, let me try to import the package. I hope it is visible, or do I need to increase it? If I increase it too much, then I'll not be able to cover much. So just tell me if this font size is fine. Yeah, perfect. Okay, guys, I'm basically importing a library called as 𝐕𝐚𝐫𝐬𝐢𝐭, from where I'll be fetching the data, or I can say I'll be loading the data. And then, as I said, I'll be working with Pandas. There is Pandas is basically a Python library for data analysis. I'll be using this, right? And then I'll also be using the matplotlib. Okay, matplotlib and the 𝐕𝐚𝐫𝐬𝐢𝐭 are the data visualization libraries. So once you write this code, this is just like importing the libraries. If you have basically worked on Java also, we basically import packages, okay, or in Python also, we basically use this import, as well as in case, okay, you can consider this as similar to using hash include kind of thing if you're working on coming from a C++ background. Okay, but remember, hash include and import is not exactly the same, but you can consider that they are similar to that. So I'm basically importing these libraries. Okay, once the libraries get only the first time when you try to connect, it might take a little bit of time connecting, and after that it will be fast enough, right? Okay, right. Matplotlib, a spelling mistake. Okay, right, guys. Now the packages are imported. The next thing I'd like to do out here is I'd like to know what are the various data sets available. I'll be using get. I'll be using this function to get to know what are the various data sets which are already available. So I can see there are a lot of data frames with regards to strings. We have anagrams, and then we have something like related to car crashes. We have information related to your flights, and then we have information related to iris flower. Okay, we basically have MPG, the miles per gallon, right? We do have tips in a which are basically given in a hotel, right? For the and then we also do have the Titanic. We can just see there are a lot of data sets which are basically available. So to get to know all the data sets which are available, we can use the method called as get dataset names. Okay, we can use this. So you'll basically get a list of data sets. Out of that, if you basically wanted to import one of the data sets. Okay, this is the name of the data set. The name of the data set. Okay, now I've just commented this, right? Or you can say clearing our output. I'd like to load this data set out here. Okay, now you can take up any of the data set. I'll be basically taking up a simple data set called as MPG. Okay, remember here this function is basically to know the various data sets available, right? And this is basically to load a data set, right? Okay, I'm basically doing this so that I don't need to download a data from Kaggle or any other sources, or might be from your local disk or any such kind of things. Okay, I'm trying to use something which is already available, already been provided, so you don't need to go out of the environment to basically load the data. Okay, but yes, we can always load the data. Okay, like whatever the data what you have captured, if it is a local machine, we can always load that particular data. Okay, we do have like read_csv, read_excel, and all those functions through which you can basically do it. Now this data sets what you loaded, you need to capture into a variable. We generally use df. Okay, and in DF basically stands for a short form for data frame. In case if you have only one data frame you're working with, you can just use the name df. But in case you're working with multiple data frames into a particular program, we can use df underscore, okay, followed by whatever the data set. I'll be working with one data frame as of now. I'll just use df. Okay. Now the data is loaded. I'd like to have a look at this. If you just want to have a look at this, you can just mention the name of the data frame. So this will basically print the data. Okay, but yes, it might have contain a lot of information. I don't want to look into the entire information. I'd like to look at the first few records. Okay, data frame is more like a tabular data. So if you want to look at the first few records, I can just write df dot head function. It'll give me the first few records out here. You can just observe it is basically giving me the first few records, the 5 records. So here we can just see that it has columns like mpg, that's called as miles per gallon, cylinders, displacement, horsepower, weight, acceleration, model year, origin, and the name of the car. Right. So this particular data set basically okay, has information about the various car models and all the related information like what is the mileage, how many cylinders, displacement, horsepower, origin, okay, the model year, all this information, right? So this particular data set contains information about the various car models having the detailed information of every model like the mpg, cylinders, the displacement, horsepower, weight, acceleration, model year, and the origin. Okay, right. So head is basically used to see the first few records so that we get an idea of okay how the data looks, right? Okay, but I would like to know what is the overall size of data, like how many rows do we have? And would like to know that what is the column name, okay, type of each of the column. We got to know the name of the columns, okay, but I would like to know what is the data type of each of the columns. So if you basically want to do that, we have a method called as df.info. So this basically gives you the entire information about all the columns, column names, how many non-null values do we have? Okay, like for example, here it says that there are a total of 398 entries. Okay, totally there are 398 rows. Out of this particular column has 398 values, meaning there is no missing value. And the data type of this is float. The cylinders, okay, it's basically an integer value and no missing value. Displacement is a fractional value. Horsepower is a fractional value. Weight is basically an integer value. There are some cars where the horsepower information is missing. So that is where it says that we have 392 non-null values. So basically 6 entries are missing out there. Fine. Acceleration, all this information. When you see this okay, data type as object, it is basically string data type. Fine. So this way, what you can do is you can get to know the data type of each of the columns as well as how many non-null values do we have. Okay, right. I hope till here things are clear. Right, guys. Now, the next information is I'd like to basically access one column. Like I'd like to just have a okay. Like I just want to get. I don't want to see all the columns out here because there's too much of data in this. So what I basically want to do it is I'd like to just access few columns. Like in SQL, we basically say like if you want to get all the columns, we say select star from followed by table name. Okay, you can consider a data frame similar to a table, right? Whereas if you want to basically select individual columns, what you do it is we say select followed by we specify the column names and then okay from the table. So we basically get only okay a particular column name. So I don't want to see all this information. I just wanted to see few columns. Okay, how do I basically see few columns out here? So I can write df square bracket. If you want to look into only one column, you can just mention the name of the column, okay, as a string. So you can use this way to access one column. Okay. Whereas if you basically wanted to see multiple columns, if you want to look at multiple columns, not just the name, I'd like to see multiple columns. So I can just try to write here one more square bracket. Here you can specify the list of columns what you basically wanted to look into. You'd like to look into the MPG. Okay, probably you'd like to have the name here. Okay, right, and then probably you would like to have the origin. Let's say I'd like to have the name then origin. We can control the order also. Whatever you mentioned out here, same information. Yeah, I would not like to print the entire records. I'd like to just look at the 5 records. You can just see first 5 record. Okay, from this, you might think that it's like every entry. What I can see is only from USA. No, okay, might be yes, might be no. We don't know everything, but we'd like to rather than always looking at the top few record, I'd like to basically get some random 5 records. So I can write sample. Okay, sample basically gives me one entry out here. But if I want to say like I'd like to look at 5 sample entries, random 5 entries. Okay, here also I basically got it as this. Now I can just observe. I got somewhere as Japan, something as Europe, right? So I also got to know that yes, there are car models from other countries also. Correct? So what we basically did till now. Okay, let me just clear the outputs of all cell. Okay, so we just learned how do we basically access individual column, like only one column, or we basically also learned about how do we access multiple columns. And in that, instead of always getting the top few records, we all learned that okay, how we can basically look at some random 10 records. Okay, we got this random 10 records. Fine. So this way we learned how do we select individual columns. Okay, right. Next. Okay, now I'd like to apply some statistical information. Like I'd like to know what is the average mileage, okay, of the entire all the cars together. Okay, like right. So if I just try to look at it, like, we have this MPG, right? So here 18, 15, right? So I'd like to know, okay, what is the average, or might be I'd like to know what is the highest mileage or what is the lowest mileage. If you basically wanted to apply those statistical methods, we can basically use your data frame, and then you can just access individual column, right? And then you can just try to apply the max method. That will give me the largest, okay, the car with the highest mileage, right? This is the okay highest highest mileage. Okay, the same way I'd like to also get to know the lowest mileage, and I'd like to apply the mean. So you can just observe, okay, the vehicle with the lowest mileage is basically 9, and then the vehicle with the highest mileage is 46. On an average, you basically get it as 23.5. Average is basically the sum of all the entries in the particular column divided by the number of entries. There's also one more thing called as median. Median is basically in case if you basically arrange the records in an order, then what will be the value of the and middle element. So you can just observe the median and the average, or you can say the mean are near about the same, right? So you can just observe, okay, that we are basically the same. So this way we can basically apply the various, statistical methods like max, min, median, mean, sum, okay, all this information we can basically apply, right? I hope things are clear. Okay, guys. Now, see, every time I would like to always have a look at this because see, if you are very much used to it, you get to know what the data we have. But if you're working on any new data, we need to always keep looking at it. You can either go up and then have a look at it, or you can just look at this particular way every time you basically wanted it, right? Now, what kind of other analysis what you can basically do? Like I'd like to here see that we have cylinders. I could see 8 and I could see 4. Then even the origin I can see USA, and I could see Europe, and we could also see the Japan. So what I'd like to do is I would like to know what are the different origins, okay, from where these entries are there, like USA, Japan, Europe, or anything else. Okay, there might be just these three, or there might be 100 different things. So I'd like to basically have a look at it. So I'd like to access this origin column. Okay, and if you want to know the number of entries, different countries, okay, which are representing, we can write n unique. Okay, there are three countries which are representing. But if you wanted to know what are those three countries, if you want to know, okay, we can just start it like this. Print. We can take this and put it up, and we can use an F string. Clear, guys? This one, if you want, you can just put a little bit up, just so that we look into that particular value closely. Okay, right. So we okay, but we would like to know what are those countries. We would like to know what are those countries. Okay, so here we can just try to write. Okay, the various countries. We can use origin dot unique. Okay, so n unique will tell me the number of unique values. Unique will basically tell me, okay, like the total number of unique. Okay, every unique entry will be displayed once. So we can just observe we got that. Okay, we have USA, we have Japan, and then we have Europe. Right? So we wanted to apply this on a particular column, which is origin. Now let us say you'd like to apply like with cylinders. You'd like to have an understanding like, okay, how many cylinders, okay, do we have? We just saw that we had something like uh, 8, and then we had something like 4. That are the two things which are visible out here. Is it only 4 and 8, or do we have something more? So I would like to basically look into cylinders. Right? Now I'd like to apply an unique. Or we have basically 5 different entries. Okay, what are those number of cylinders vehicles? What we basically have? We have 8 cylinder, 4 cylinder, 6 cylinder, 3 cylinder, as well as 5 cylinders. Right? So you could just see that how easy it was basically for with us to get to know the number, okay, the different, okay, number of cylinders vehicles which are basically present in this data set by just applying one simple method. We just applied dot unique, so it got all the, okay, unique values. But generally, many a times when you do a regular programming, okay, in a either you might, whichever language you basically study, basic Python, or might be you basically try to study with C, Java, and everything. We basically tend to write a separate programs. Okay, writing the unique, like calculating the number of unique, what are the unique elements, the number of unique elements will be a separate program as such. Okay, so where we okay, in some cases, in some languages, we basically have a set. We try to pass on to the set and then get to know that, okay, we would like to have remove all the duplicates and get only the unique values. But in some, okay, languages, we don't even have the built-in thing, right? But yes, okay, that requires more steps, right? Either you talk about the C language does not have a built-in set data structure, or might be you talk about those languages which provides you set data structures, where you just need to insert one by one all the elements, and then, okay, that will take care of only retaining the first entry of that particular value, and again any duplicates will be removed. Okay, right? Fine, but here you can just see just one simple function name. Okay, right. Now, the next thing is we'd like to also understand, like, okay, fine, we got to know that there are 3 countries and then 5, okay, different cylinders. I would like to know how many vehicles are from each of these countries: USA, Japan, Europe, right? So I'd like to know, okay, how many are there from Japan, Europe, and USA? There are 2 ways of doing it. One, you can explicitly take these names and you can just write df of origin, okay, equal to USA, right? So this will basically give me a Boolean array, right? Yes, how many entries do we have? We'll have the same number of entries as whatever we had it in the original data set, which is basically 398 rows. Fine. Okay. But I don't want to see a Boolean array. I just want to only get those records which basically, okay, are from USA. So what you do, what is this information, what you applied, you just applied for data frame to get those records whose country is only USA. All these records are only USA. There are 249 entries where it is USA. Okay. We had 249 rows. Then the same thing, I'll try to learn about Japan. So we had around 79 rows. Okay. The remaining is basically your Europe. So we got it as around 70. 70 in Europe, 79 in USA, and then we basically, okay, got the remaining things from America, 249. So this information, I can just do it in a much shorter way here. What I can do it is I can just try to write. This will automatically identify the number of unique entries do we have, right? And for each unique entry, how many entries are basically present. Like this basically, okay, it is similar to a frequency count, what you basically might do in a regular college studies. The same thing is we can just observe, we can just try to apply the value counts. We got to know about this value counts of this, right? Okay, I hope it's simple. Now, okay, the same way we can also like, get to know that, okay, with regards to MPG, I'd like to know about this. Regards to MPG. Oh, sorry, not MPG. MPG is like MPG. We have too many entries out there. We'd like to take it up with cylinders. So we can see that we had around 204 entries with 4 cylinders, 8 cylinders, 103, 6 cylinders, 84. The 3 and 5 cylinders, like we just have some very few records. Okay, had very few records with respect to this. Now we are basically trying to look at this as tabular data. But if you basically want to look at this as a graph, yes, we can basically try to put this into a graph. You can basically try to, okay, put in the graph out here. So that way, I just right. Okay, here you can just see x-axis is basically the origin and y-axis, okay, this is basically, okay, the average mileage which has taken, right? Okay, we can just observe, we can easily draw this kind of plots, right? So we can just, okay, draw plots out here. We can get this informations. Okay, all this informations. Okay, whatever you used to think like it used to be very complicated, especially looking at the way you guys might have done the coding. Either it could be a C programming or it could be a Java programming. Okay, Python might be even though simpler when compared to Java and C, but still, if you just look at that and then you look at this, you see that okay, this makes things much easier even compared to the basic Python, what you basically think of, right? So this way we can just do a lot of okay analysis, right? So let me just show you a few more things. Like for example, here when I just wrote this info, I got to know that here there is some missing values in this. Okay, so one way we can get to know .info and get to know okay which column has missing values. The other way what I can do it is if I just try to apply is null on the entire data frame, I'll give a Boolean value. Wherever there is null value, it will say for true, otherwise false, right? So if I want to know how many null values are there in each of this, I can do this. It says that in all these we have no null values. whereas here we basically have null values, missing values. Okay, so whenever you have some missing values, you can handle it by filling up those particular values with appropriate values. Or if you feel like no, okay, since filling up with some values might uh, impact, okay, so I'd like to basically remove these records where, okay, there's no entry of it, especially if you're trying to do some kind of HP, horsepower related analysis. And if you say that, okay, if I take up some record which has missing values, it might impact the overall analysis. Okay, so I would like to basically remove these records. So how do I remove these records? So this one will try to remove this records, right guys? Okay. And after this, if I just try to have a look at this df.info, 6 records where HP was having null value, those were removed, and we do not have any null values as of now. Okay, can you see we do not have any null values? Okay, those 6 records are removed. Either we can remove it or we can basically fill it up. Okay, like we do have appropriate functions. Okay, where we can basically try to take the average and then fill that up, or might be the adjacent records. You can basically try to fill it up. There are ways through which you can basically fill that up. Okay, so this way you can try to explore, like for example, let us say why this handling of this missing value is important. Assume that there are around 10 students and then 4 students were absent in the class. And if you basically, okay, try to say, okay, all those people have basically been absent, they will be scoring as 0. Okay, so in that particular case, and after that, if you try to do what is the average marks scored by um, the class, the average will drop drastically, because out of 10 students, 4 people were absent and they were given 0 marks. And then you're basically only taking up the marks of 6 people who are present and then trying to add those 6 divided by 10 people. So if you basically exclude those 4 people who are absent, and if you basically only consider the 6 people who are present, then it will give you a much better picture when compared to, okay, including the information about those people who were not present. Clear, guys? I hope these things are clear till now. Yes, guys. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Okay, guys. Now, yeah, it's not that in the regular classes will be going continuous like this. We will always be making you guys also, okay, work along with us. Okay, so every step, every action what we basically do, we will, okay, also let you guys basically, okay, practice the same thing, so that you also, okay, when see, there's a difference between looking at things as well as we doing it and seeing it, okay, in our own machines. So we will make sure that, okay, whatever we do simultaneously, you also work along with us, okay, where you can also get the output. And once we basically work with one particular data set, we will be giving you the task based on the other data sets, where, okay, so whatever we have basically learned on one particular data set, what you've seen, okay, as well as you also okay, practice the same thing. So we'll also be working on the other data sets, so where we will be able to apply what we have learned and to a new data set, and we'll check out like how much we have basically learned. Fine. Okay. Right, guys. Now, the next thing what I'd like to do, what is, I'd like to demonstrate, like, I'd like to do a sorting. Okay, like for example, here, I'd like to arrange this based on MPG. I'd like to arrange this based on MPG, right? Yes, you can basically do this. Okay, so if you want to sort it, we have sort underscore index. Now this index is basically this particular column names. If you want to arrange this, you can use sort underscore index. So, right, and here by default, it has taken a rows, and then I'll just write here E, C, D, H, more, okay, M, okay, MO, MP, name, and origin, right? So we get same sort underscore index, and we used to sort based on row index as well as the column index. But we're not interested in sorting based on this particular one. We are basically interested in sorting uh, the values of a particular column. So what you can basically do it is we can basically say that I'd like to use sort underscore values. Okay, right? We'd like to do sort underscore values out here. Okay. Now in sort underscore values, you need to specify by which particular column you'd like to do it. You can just try to write equal to. I'd like to sort based on MPG, right? So here you can just see 9, then 10. Okay. Yeah, there's one more thing. This is okay. If you basically want to see the entire data frame, we can just use this way. But in case if you want to say, no, I'm not interested in looking at the entire data frame, I'd just like to access the MPG column. I'd like to access the MPG column and I'd like to use sort underscore values. Here you don't need to specify by because there's only one column. So you can just observe, we can do the sorting here. So it's basically arranged as per the MPG. Okay, right. So this way we can basically sort it by any particular column, right? Or might be like, for example, if you basically have information in regards to the scores of the students, right? If you want to arrange based on the final marks or you would like to arrange based on any particular subject, okay, you can basically try to do it. You just need to specify by which subject and want to sort it by that particular, okay, record. Fine. So that, okay. So here is basically the row labels, right? Row labels out here. So, okay, if you want, you can also have the student names or restriction numbers out there. Okay, where okay, we can get to know what is the restriction number and okay, you can sort in ascending order. We can also sort in descending order, right? Sort in descending order. Okay, so that's the way we can do sorting, right, guys? Next, probably what else can we basically do? Okay, now I could see this cylinders, MPG, okay, right? I have 8 cylinders, the mileage is 18. I'd like, okay, but I'd like to, okay, there are 4 cylinders, the mileage is 27. I would like to observe, like, is there any kind of relationship between the number of cylinders and MPG, right? So if you want to understand relationship between two different variables, okay, then the best thing is we can basically try to draw a scatter plot. We can try to write, okay, scatter plot, right? We can just say, okay, x-axis, what do you want? I want, okay, and then I'd like to take up the cylinders or the weight. You can basically take it up, and then we can just try to mention, okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, we can just use this, and somewhere we could see that this basically information is trying to tell you that x-axis is basically the miles per gallon. Miles per gallon is higher, okay, for the low weight one, and the higher weight one, right? This is higher weight one. So we can just observe that the miles per gallon is lesser. So I'd like to also take up if there is any relationship between the cylinders and MPG. I'd like to have this as cylinders. X-axis will basically represent the cylinders. Y-axis will represent the MPG. Right? So here I could see that 3 cylinders is in the range of somewhere around 17 and 25, right? 8, okay, you can just see, okay, if you just look at these values, it's not like all the vehicles of 4 cylinders are giving the same mileage. No, we do have vehicles which is giving very less with 4 cylinders, as well as you can just also see that it's also giving, okay, very high, right? But yes, 4 cylinder is the one which is basically giving you the highest. We have very minimal 3 and okay 5 cylinders, right? 5 cylinders also you can, okay, 6 cylinders also you can just observe. But yes, one thing what you can observe with 8 cylinders one, the highest is also somewhere like 25, okay, one particular model, right? But most of the models are in the range of 10 to 20, where here it's around 17. So you can just see good amount of this is Yeah. So number of cylinders does matter. The more number of cylinders will basically give you more power, but less mileage. Okay. So there's something what you can basically try to analyze, right? So if you want, you can also apply the average, okay, of all the vehicles. And if you want, you can also try to check out like, okay, among the various countries, which particular countries vehicles basically give you a better mileage, right? So you can, if you want plotting, yes, you can do plots, graphs. If you just wanted to know, like, I would like to know separately, like USA, I'd like to know what is the average mileage, right? Europe, what is the average mileage? And then I'd like to do this. How do I do this? One way I could say, okay, first let me just try to access, right? So if I get this one, then I can say, okay, fine, I got all the records of USA. Then I might, okay, wanted to apply this MPG out here, right? This will basically give me only the MPG column. And in this, I'd like to apply the mean. This is the mean of, okay, average of USA. The same way I'd like to check out. The same way you can also apply the cylinders also. Japan. So we can just observe the vehicles in USA basically provide you less, okay, average when compared to Japan. Japan provides the highest, and then Europe, okay, not as great as Japan, but yes, okay, way better than USA. Okay, there could be reasons also because since the fuel is cheaper in, okay, USA, which is one of the largest producing oil producing countries, even though we might basically talk about the Gulf country, okay, and Russia and all this area, but US is also one of the largest fuel producing countries. Okay, so they've not concentrated much on the efficiency, but Japan, okay, has basically, okay, looked into efficiency aspects, and then Europe, since they basically also needs to import a lot of fuel from the other countries, okay, so they basically also have given importance on the mileage, right? So this is just like country wise. The same way, if you want, you can also try to apply this for the cylinders. We can say cylinders. This is 8. That 8 is a numerical value. 8, 6, and 4. 8 cylinders, 6 cylinders, this 4 cylinders. So we can just observe the average of 4 cylinders basically quite high at around 29 to 30. The average of 6 cylinders somewhere around 20, and then, okay, 8 cylinders average itself is around 15. Okay, so we just saw that, okay, the lesser, okay, one is much, okay, gives you much better mileage. So we also had an India is also a country where previously we used to be very much concentrating on the, okay, fuel, okay, rather than any other aspects, right? That was one of the key things about Marutis. Okay, they basically always used to say that kitna deti hai, okay, because it's a fuel, okay, because India also imports around 80% of the fuel. Fine. Okay. Right, guys. So this is just one of the ways through which you can basically get it. And there is another way we can basically do the same thing. We can try to write df dot group by, okay, we'd like to origin and this one. Please observe what we wrote here as 3 different lines where we tried to get records from USA separately and then apply the mean separately. The same thing is done by this. You wanted to group by origin and after that access the MPG part and then apply the mean on this. The same way you wanted to do the same thing for, I'd like to group by cylinders. It is considering all. Okay, 3 and 5 also. Okay, right. So it will automatically do the analysis of whatever the value counts you should basically do it. Okay, a number of unique entries. Okay, and then number of entries to that, as well as applying the mean for taking it as separate groups, and then trying to apply this mean on each of the group. Okay, and then giving you a table kind of information out here, right? So right. So I hope things are clear. In a very short time, okay, we just did a lot of information where we just learned um, rather than reading data from the disks. Okay, right? We basically learned loading existing data sets available from, okay, how do we do it? Load data set. Then we did, okay, apply um, the info method, okay, to look at the details about the columns. We looked into the head as well as the sample, okay, to get to know the top few records, or the, okay, same way we also have the tail to look at the, okay, bottom, right? Then we did apply some of the statistical methods, like we basically applied this max, min, okay, then mean, median, right? Yeah, what we basically applied here as separate functions, if we want, we can always get it as a single, okay, function itself. We can get to do that by just applying df dot describe. So you can just observe, it does gives me what is the smallest value for the MPG for each of the columns, okay, which are numerical by default, right? By default only gives you information on numerical. Yes, there is a parameter through which we can control even if you want to look at the non-numerical. Okay, right. So we got to know what is the minimum, right? We got to know what is the maximum for the MPGs, what is the average. Okay, sorry, this is the average and this is the median, right? We got this clear. So for each of the columns, if you basically wanted to look into even the non-numerical columns, okay, so we basically had this three origin. So we can just see we have three unique values. The highest occurring is USA, and USA had 245 entries. Then name, okay, remember this particular data set basically contains, okay, one vehicle, one entry. It's not like you have 10 vehicles or one model. No, every model only one car, right? So you basically had two, okay, non-numerical values, and this one origin makes sense. Okay, how many unique values you had, and then how many, okay, what is the most occurring one, and what is the frequency of the most occurring one. Fine. Okay. So we also learned about describe out here, right? And then we did learn how to extract. Okay, there's one more thing, like, okay, with regards to accessing individual rows, individual columns, which is we generally use LOC, ILOC. Okay, I did not get into that particular information, like, okay, how do I get into access individual rows, individual columns, or okay, doing the slicing of those things and all those information regards to LOC and ILOC. And there are many others, like if you basically wanted to get the records of, see, we just applied this max on a particular column. Okay, but if you basically wanted to get that row, I just don't want to get 9. I just want to get that entire row. See here, when you just, okay, like for example, if I just try to write df of mpg dot min, okay, smallest vehicle. But, okay, I got this, but I just want to know the details of the entire car, like what is the, okay, the details of a car, right, which gives a mileage of 9, right? So in that particular case, I need to know not just the value, I'd like to know the index. I'd like to know the index. How do I get to know the index? So record number 28 basically had this, and this I can just try to write. So this is a vehicle from USA. Okay, this entire information, right? Yeah, and then I think when we sorted and then looked at it, we could see that if we could sort. So here this information, record number 28. Okay, it's coming from it is model HI1200D. Okay, so this way we can also use this a combination of, okay, it might be a very small, like people are looking at it for the first time, might be you might be thinking that, oh, there are so many things to basically look into, and then which will just cover in a probably in a 45 minutes or 50 minutes duration, right? But remember, okay, again, I'm telling you that just wanted to tell you, okay, like what and all we can basically do, what kind of analysis we can basically do. But in a regular session, we will be going slower, we'll be okay, taking different, and then telling you guys to basically work on that, and then we'll be going in detail about every graphs, okay, every step, as well as making you also work on the other data sets, right? So I hope you guys understood the power of pandas, guys. It's quite easy. Any questions do we have? Guys, open to questions. Hey guys, how many people were already aware of pandas, guys? Uh, yes, Mr. Kamal. I'll just show you. Okay, see, one place where you can basically get all the data sets as well as the problem statements and then the hackathons on data analysis and everything is Kaggle. Okay, Kaggle is a place from where you can get a lot of data sets. Okay, and there are competitions, right? So here we can get a lot of data sets out here, of various data sets related to different topics, right? And then there are also competitions where you can participate and work on it and submit it, right? There'll be rewards also for this. Okay, so Kaggle is a place from where we can get the assets. A very popular website for like how people just like data structures and algorithms, people fall back on lead code, right? Okay, so same way, okay, we can say this is like a lead code for data analysis. Kaggle.com. There are other websites also, like like gapminder.org. We just go to the resources out here, scroll down, we get data, and again data from various sources. Okay, various informations, you basically have the data. Yeah, see, all these things are good enough if you basically want to analyze, like we call it as TFR or carbon emission per capita, right? Child mortality, the number of, okay. I think I would say that if you basically look into any of this, if you do an analysis, you will get to know that um, where do we stand, right? So how do we measure a particular state's performance, right? So if you whenever you want to understand a particular country's, okay, overall okay, healthcare system and everything, I would basically say that you need to look into child mortality rate. Okay, child mortality rate is very important. Okay, any idea? Anybody knows, right? How many children die out of thousand? Out of thousand children who are born, how many die within 5 years? Right? So, any guess, guys? Approximately what would be India's average? Yeah. Um, with regards to these challenges, as I said, like, okay, like Kaggle is a great one. Even from Crane side, we generally tend to use real sets which are basically available open. But yes, sometimes what happens is like our previous like for placement, some organization would have basically given us okay some challenges. We will make okay utilize those okay data sets and then we'll try to okay, certain Sony is not for me, right? See, since companies keep visiting us regularly, and in some companies they basically give us the challenges, okay, for the students who are paying it. So we try to take up those, and then we try to, okay, cover a part of it in the class, or we'll basically give them as a task, right, so that they get familiar, and then, okay, they are ready to basically face interviews. Right. But I tell you that, okay, we know there is a lot of scope in this particular field, and then, yeah, there are jobs also, but for every job, there are a lot of people who are vying for it. So it is important that we basically, okay, take up a guided, okay, courses, as well as on top of that, we need to really put in the efforts, okay. Only then we will be succeeding it. Otherwise, we will not be able to succeed. I'd always say that please look into this particular information, check out, especially with regards to the spread of this data uh, within the states, right? So you can just look at this particular data across the states, guys, and that will tell you the spread of healthcare system across the hook and nook of the corners. Like okay, and then you can get to know which state basically provides better healthcare even in the remotest areas. It's not just about like for example, Maharashtra, we all talk about Mumbai and Pune. Karnataka, we talk about Bangalore. Okay, but it's not about one city, right? So this is the overall state. You need to look at it, and this is a very important aspect to look into this kind. And then even if you talk about the GDP, okay, the earnings, it's not about the average earning, okay, like earnings of all divided by the number of people who are present. So we need to basically look at the median, right? So there is a saying that if you are basically earning around 25K, you fall on the top 10%. I don't know how far it is true. Okay. But yes, if you basically look at that, then it's a very bad situation. Even if you look at this population, uh, GDP per capita, and life expectancy about various countries at various levels. And yes, some data is already okay recorded, and some data is like predicted for the future. Okay, that particular data is now is captured out here. So I'm basically
Okay.
done. So no questions. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can take it forward.
Yes. 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 Thank you, guys. I think that was a very insightful session, sir. I think these are some essentials. We learned from how to have data to how to prioritize them and how to, segregate them and how to, use certain tools to make certain important decisions. So, guys, we have, detailed programs exclusively for PCA grads, and we also have some for our engineers. We have PG diploma program, and we also have standalone Java program that'll be offered for BCA. So we will be getting in touch with you. I hope you guys have filled all the details that we've put in the Google link. So once you guys fill the details, you will have a free resume consultation. You will also be invited for a free workshop. So please fill the Google form. We will be connecting with you. And thank you, Sikandar sir, once again for that very insightful webinar. Thank you, guys.